of titles to round off the releases of May with a mix across action, narrative, and RPG titles that I think are worth a play. Let's begin with Unwell Known, a neat little precision platformer, which, while having rough edges and not exactly a coherent art style, is a title that I think is worth a look. This developer did reach out, and I know that some of you on the channel have looked into this, so it's finally out, so do give it a try. There's combat, platforming, and an interesting grappling hook mechanic, looking to be a neat, smaller game. A gorgeous pixel art title that I've had my eye on is Mists of Noya, releasing out of early access and is of interest since it is a pixel art survival action platformer. Similar to games like Terraria, you're exploring and gathering resources in the day and defending and fighting off enemies at night, with more intense action sequences every 7 days as the demons attack your stronghold. While it does look great and has a compelling gameplay loop, like Unwell Known covered earlier, there are rough edges in that there's something off about the balance of this game. The tutorial could be better and could use more bug fixes, making this somewhat of an uncut gem that I hope will continue to get polished. We don't get many traditional grid-based turn-based roguelikes anymore, which makes the Sargosian Abyss one of interest, a title that intentionally uses a limited colour palette to evoke games like NetHack. Interestingly, you're actually controlling a party of 4 heroes with combat that more resembles a tactics title rather than a roguelite. The story involves our unfortunate heroes being thrown into the abyss as a sacrifice to the god of chaos, now having to delve into the ever-changing labyrinth and possibly slay a god.
After a certain number of summers, even something as familiar and ordinary as sitting around a campfire can feel heavy somehow. Clouds of memories hung over us that night like smoke over the flames.
Our first narrative title of interest is A Story Beside, one that is made in RPG Maker, so of course the comparison to the Moon will be made, where it was released out of early access after 6 years or so. It tells a slice-of-life story about an innkeeper in a mountain village, of friendships and relationships with the rest of the characters, without having to slay dragons or having the village destroyed by a great evil, being a refreshing change of pace.
Mine. It's a different sort of story. I was just a girl, living in a quiet village on a quiet mountainside.
Another tactics title of interest is Obsidian Prince, one that has a voxel art style and does add in cards and roguelite elements as well. I really like the look of this, despite voxels not usually being my thing, but there's quite a compelling gameplay loop as you upgrade the town in the overworld before delving into dungeons. This was released out of early access as well, so if it looks interesting, now's the best time to get in. I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing this wrong, but Thought STP Light Crave is a visual novel title that is so anime and so gorgeous, being the latest entry in a long-running series, although knowledge of the first couple of games is not required. It tells the tale of an ordinary boy, the son of a fruit farmer who has aspirations of becoming a painter but hasn't quite seemed to be able to master the craft, where of course a catalytic event occurs and things are changed forever. It is a kinetic novel with a ton of character animation which helps with a story and narrative to keep you going.
Fools. They just keep coming more and more every day.
What is honor? I mean true honor. Is it devotion to your master? To your clan?
It's been so many days.
Is it loyalty to your family? To your
The war was lost before I had even
friends?
I knew it.
My only hope is that my death will honor all of them.
Now that I'm about to die,
I will die without fear
I accept that.
or regret.
Alright, this may be a little bit of a surprise, but Samurai Riot Definitive Edition is an enhanced release of a beat-em-up title from 2017, being a free update on Steam and also releasing on Switch. It has improved stability, combos and new animations and dialogue, with an interesting decision-making system in co-op where you fight each other if you disagree, so if you missed this 5 years ago, do give it a look. Another interesting 1.0 release is Cannibal Crossing, an action survival title where you're venturing out to scavenge for resources, bringing it back to build up your encampment and so on. And yes, while it does seem like a typical zombie apocalypse setup, you are fighting cannibals instead. In fact, it is even more unsurprising since it comes to us from the developers that made the zombie version of this, Death Road to Canada from 2016, where I do see many similar elements, too similar in fact for there to be novelty to this game, but hey, if you liked the original, perhaps check this out. I love my classic turn-based Japanese RPGs, with a title of interest being The Use of Life, one that surprise launched during the Japanese-centric Indie Live Expo and is a title with plenty of choices to make. I do like the art and combat in this game, having Mario RPG style active QTEs in combat, but for a story-driven game, an early access title without all the endings is a weird choice, but it's an interesting game to keep an eye on. One of the most interesting titles to release out of early access is Fabled Lands, an old-school narrative RPG that does have your stats, equipment, character class variety, and turn-based tactical combat, but does have a bunch of text, choices to be made, and even dice rolling as well. It takes place in an open world where you're free to roam, taking on quest objectives and battling all sorts of creatures. I do love the hand-drawn art in this as well, where it's a nice change of pace from the roguelites and Metroidvanias that we're all used to, making it of interest, taking the #1 spot. For more tactics titles, watch these videos and I will see you after the jump.